Hello there. Welcome to Monday. It's a new week here on The Bernie Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. I am Bernie Miklasz, and I've been writing and talking about St. Louis area sports, including the colleges, since 1985. Here at STL Sports Central, I do 5 columns a week. I do 5 videos a week, and I join my longtime friend Randy Carricker for a weekly visit on his show. You can catch me on KMOX on multiple shows, including Gas House Gang, Sports Rush Hour, Sports Open Line, Sports on a Sunday morning. I also do Seeing Red with my friend Will Leach. That's a Cardinals podcast that we do mostly during baseball season or when the off-season news warrants it. I also guest with Katie Wu on her Fair Territory, I should say Cardinal Territory video, scheduled to record another one of those later this week. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and please hit the like button. This would be really help us out here at STL Sports Central because we're really fired up to provide you abundant content on the teams you care about. And the more you subscribe and the more you like, the more content will come along. Today's topic, let's get to the point. I'm really excited. Alabama's coming to Como to take on Mizzou in a battle of nationally ranked teams. This is the start of the, let's call it the let's get real part of Mizzou's schedule, the beginning of a 7-game stretch that will really define the 2025 Tigers. I don't know why I'm saying Cardinals. This remaining 7 games obviously going to determine a lot about Mizzou football, including potential college football playoff spot. But there's plenty of time to talk about that. You can't, jump into any conclusions now. You just let this thing play out a while. I can't wait for this game. I didn't even shave today or yesterday even. I think I know it's hockey season starting Thursday, but I think I'm sort of in the, like, I'm going to keep this beard. It's not a beard. It'll turn into one until after this Mizzou Alabama game. Anyway, enough of me and my silliness. This Alabama visit this Saturday is one of the most highly anticipated home games at Mizzou since MIZ joined the SEC conference in 2012. I would say that this is probably the biggest game in Coach Eli Drinkwitz's career. I'd say definitely it is, but I have a feeling we could be saying that 3 more times between now and the end of the season, because I assume Mizzou's going to be playing in some pretty big games. Now, you can go ahead and use whatever cliche that you like, but because I don't feel like, figuring out one that's creative or clever, I'm just going to say this will be a big boy football test for Mizzou. And I'm not saying that to belittle the Tigers. I'm not saying I don't think they play big boy football. Anybody who's watched that defensive line stuff to run and see the pass rush and see Ahmad Hardy and that great fleet of running backs. Yeah, I think Mizzou can play big boy football just fine. But we all know that out there in the SEC territories, there's still a little skepticism about Mizzou's authenticity. So the Tigers have a great opportunity to basically shut everybody up, and by taking down one of the SEC's historical giants in this one. And on the other hand, that also puts, I think, some added pressure on the home team. Alabama has had no problem in the recent past, bullying Mizzou around. I know that it is all in the past, but if you believe that the past informs us in terms of the present to an extent, then yeah, Mizzou's got a hell of a lot to prove in this one. Well, so does Alabama, but for different reasons. I can't imagine the reaction in Alabama land if the Crimson Tide would lose this one, and there's a reason for that, which I'll get to here in a minute. But these teams have met 5 times previously since Mizzou was invited into the SEC family in 2012. And Alabama could count on an easy victory in all 5 games. In getting pushed around and losing all 5 games to Bama, Mizzou got beat by an average margin of 28.6 points per game. I don't need to say anything else than that, right? And it wasn't just Nick Saban's Alabama teams wrecking Mizzou and, bullying him and mashing him up all over the place. Because as you remember, last season, Mizzou went to Tuscaloosa for their first game against the Kalen DeBoer version of the Crimson Tide and got smashed 34-0. That said, Alabama's roadshow under DeBoer has been awful over his first season and a half as Saban's successor. Under DeBoer, since he took over, Alabama is 2-5 in games played away from Bryant-Denny Stadium. That includes one bowl game. The pressure cooker program, you knew it was going to be really, really, really challenging, difficult. A lot of extraneous stuff, external stuff for Kalen DeBoer, simply because he's not Nick Saban. But anyway, in 4 of the 5 Crimson Tide losses were inflicted. This is away from their own stadium. 4 of the 5 losses were inflicted by unranked opponents. The Traveling Tides' 5 losses away from Tuscaloosa under DeBoer came at Vanderbilt last year, Tennessee last year, at Oklahoma last year, in a bowl game loss against Michigan, and then a blowout loss to Florida State at Florida State that opened the 2025 campaign. In all, Alabama lost those 5 non-home games by an average of 10.6 points. Of course, there's a yeah, but aspect to all this. And so what would that be? Well, the 2 road wins were against Georgia. DeBoer took his team to Athens last year and won, and then he did it again a couple of weeks ago. Took him to Georgia and won. So it isn't like Alabama is not capable of playing at a high level on the road or away from home. But to say they've been erratic under DeBoer away from home is an understatement. This is interesting to me. I always pay attention to the wagering trends because I think it tells us a lot about not only just gamblers, but what in general people are thinking. And I think the relative lack of confidence in Alabama as a team that plays away from home under the new coach is reflected in the kind of the mercurial nature of this week's point spread and how quickly it has changed, tilting away from Alabama, even though Alabama is still the favorite. So let me talk you through this. I think most people find this stuff fun and interesting. The opening line put out, I don't know whether it came out Sunday morning or what, but the first line, the opening line, was Alabama as a 6.5 point favorite. It soon dropped to 4.5. Then it went to Alabama by 3.5. And as I prepped this video on Monday morning and I checked again, Mizzou was down to a 3-point underdog less than 2 days after being cast as a 6.5 point dog. That kind of line movement is unusual. It's not normal. Usually it'll go down a tick, point and a half, something like that. But this thing went from 6.5 down to 3 in virtually no time. So the betting public ain't buying into this initial belief that Alabama is dominant. They've always owned Mizzou when they've played, and yeah, they're both ranked, but Alabama is, Alabama and Mizzou's Mizzou and all that stuff. No, they're not buying into the usual narrative. And these 2 teams are ranked in the top 14 of both the AP and the coaches polls released Sunday. Alabama's 8th and Mizzou's 14th. So after consecutive wins at Georgia and at home over Vandy, Alabama has stabilized and has risen back to, I mentioned, to number 8 in the polls. And after being disrespected and shunned in the preseason top 25 rankings, which is still just a wonderful joke. It's just so stupid. The Mizzou wasn't considered one of the top 25 before this all started. The Tigers have made it all the way up to number 14 after their 5-0 start. Now, going into Saturday's game, the perception of Mizzou has changed in more ways than one. The polls, yes, and also, as I just laid out for you, the increased confidence in Mizzou in the wagering trends, where people were saying, no, 6.5 points is way too much. Mizzou's good. That's way too much. At home, that's way too much. And the point spread, corrected itself based on the belief that, yeah, Alabama may be a little shaky on away from home, but also Mizzou's pretty damn good now. So let's not sleep on them. I think the perceptions are changing. As of late Monday morning, 61% of the total bets already made on this game were thrown down on Mizzou, and 56% of the total money wagered on this game so far has been put down on Mizzou. That also tells us a lot. Now, are the Tigers ready for their close-up? There have been some hyped home games here over the years. A lot of times it didn't end well, but no question, this one's different. It feels different. There's a lot of curiosity out there nationally, and both fans and skeptics alike are curious and excited to see how Mizzou will stand up to Alabama. And that makes this matchup even more compelling. And Coach Eli Drinkwitz has built a program that isn't just automatically waved off as same old Mizzou, a middleweight trying to compete in a heavyweight conference. Obviously, there were a lot of clowns that felt that way before the season, hence the snubbing from the top 25 poll, and also the SEC media, which had Mizzou, 12th among the 16 teams going in. So, yeah, this is a recent – it's like all of these clowns woke up – it might have been 2 weeks ago or something when they beat South Carolina. I don't know. It's like, Mizzou's not not a little patsy. Mizzou, those boys can play over there a little bit. So I laugh at this stuff, but I also laugh at, as I said in a previous video, because Eli Drinkwitz and the players just eat this up. It works to their advantage. They don't need motivation, but any extra spice can work. This time, Mizzou's got a chance to land heavyweight punches and knock mighty Alabama down. When I return for my second segment of Monday's Bernie Show, I was going to discuss the amazing progress made by Mizzou under Coach Drink since the start of the 2023 season. And I got one nugget in particular that I think will open your eyes or your ears. Not that they're closed. I'm just saying. Got some good stuff. And why Mizzou's work over the last 3 seasons is altering view of the Mizzou program. Better late than never by the people on the outside. But first, I've got some exciting news from DraftKings Sportsbook. By the way, DraftKings also has Mizzou as a 3-point underdog, so their line reflects the way that point spreads come down, down, down. Anyway, let's get to the message. Missouri, get ready because the wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, or as we're going to call it, the Show Me the Money State, with DraftKings moving in. You can sign up today and be totally prepared for the DraftKings Sportsbook app going live on December the 1st. It's best to get it done early so you're not scrambling around on the 1st of December when you can bet legally in our state. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when we at DraftKings, I'm consider myself part of the team, when DraftKings launches on that day, December 1st. So download now, place a $5 bet when DraftKings Sportsbook goes live on December the 1st. DraftKings Sportsbook is the best. It brings everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, endless ways to get in on the action immediately, all right from your phone. And when we officially go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the Sportsbook app, trusted by millions, safe, secure, fast money withdrawals, and so many other things to like. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and do it now with ASAP. Then use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets, which is a $5 bet that you cast when you go live, because DraftKings will be live on December the 1st here in our state. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 or over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after being issued. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. You can find terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. All right, let's get back into it. Segment number 2 of the Bernie Show, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which you can do with one click, and hit that like button as well. And always like you to leave your comments. The wagering trends on Alabama Mizzou not only indicate some anxiety over Bama's 5 slip-ups away from home the last 2 years, but I believe that the trends also show more awareness and more faith in Mizzou and what Coach Drinkwitz has done with this program. I mentioned some of this before, but this was a while back. It's worth revisiting again, and it's also updated. So let's do this again. Since the start of the 2023 season, Mizzou's 26-5, got an .839 winning percentage that's tied for 4th best with Ole Miss among Power 4 conference teams. There's 68 of those. And so over the last 3 seasons, Mizzou is tied for the fourth best winning percentage among the 68. That's pretty damn good. The only four power programs with a higher winning percentage than Mizzou since 2000 started 2023 are Oregon, Ohio State, and Georgia. Yeah, if you ask me, I'll say it again. That's pretty damn good, if not remarkable. Among SEC teams since the start of 2023, and this includes all games, not just conference games, Mizzou and Ole Miss are tied for the second best overall winning percentage in the SEC. All games, topped only by Georgia. And again, that's pretty remarkable given, frankly, and you know it, Missouri's previous stretches, some of them long stretches of mediocrity, averageness, irrelevancy. You know, when you hear Mizzou ranked in the company they're being ranked with these days, it's a pardon me for sounding all dramatic, but it's almost breathtaking to realize how far this program's come. And I love this a lot. Among Coach Drink's most noticeable successes is turning Memorial Stadium, Faurot Field, into a huge home field advantage for the Tigers. And you know what? It pretty much happened as soon as he replaced Barry Odom before the 2020 season. Now, check this out. From 2015, that was Gary Pinkel's year, final year, and then Odom for the next in 16, 17, 18, 19. So from 2015 through 2019, Mizzou was 21-13 for a 613 home winning percentage. That is not good. That is not good. But since Drink replaced Barry Odom, the Tigers are 32-7 for an 821 home winning percentage. That's a lot better. That's really good. But it's peaked over the last three seasons. In other words, it was starting to take an upward trend, right? But it's really peaked over the last three seasons. Since the start of 2023, Mizzou's 18-1 home winning percent, their 18-1 record is tied for second best in the nation among Power Four conference programs. Oregon is 17-0, so they have a perfect winning percentage. But Mizzou and Ohio State are next, both at 18-1. I mean, as someone that goes way back, and I know a lot of you go way back longer than I do as being a Mizzou fan or a Mizzou observer, or a guy like me that's been covering Mizzou, talking about Mizzou, writing about Mizzou, a lot of columns through the years, a lot of games through the years. This is almost incomprehensible that they're at this highest level. And this is after they moved into the SEC and after they got knocked around a little bit in the SEC after after winning the SEC East in 13 and 14, got slapped around quite a bit. So at a time where you would expect them to just be kind of the dregs of the conference, they're actually one of the best teams in the conference. And it's all because of the fan support. It's all because of the people pumping money into the program. And it's mostly because of this guy named Drinkwitz. He has turned Mizzou into a true SEC team in home dominance. With all the upgrades to Memorial Stadium, and he's been pushing for that, helping raising money for that and all that stuff. Mizzou's home venue looks like an SEC stadium. It feels like an SEC stadium, and it rocks like an SEC home stadium. This is a big, big change from the olden days. Missouri's overall 26-5 record over the last three seasons. Here's a new thing I came up with because I was curious. Missouri's overall 26-5 record over the last three seasons represents the team's best three-season winning percentage in program history. The second best was Dan Devine's team from 1960 through 62. They were 25-4-3 for a winning percentage of 829 in those three seasons. As of now, Mizzou's three-season winning percentage going into Saturday's game is 839. Now, of course, depending on what happens the rest of the way this season, Mizzou's 839 winning percentage could fall below Devine's three-season winning percentage from 60 through 62. But up to this point, Drink's on top for best three-year record in program history, and his current run has been absolutely exceptional. What a great hire. From his overall recruiting to his success in the transfer portal to reestablishing connections in the state, Kansas City, St. Louis, all places in between, to his dramatic transformation of Mizzou into a home field powerhouse. to his college football evangelism that has changed the fan support culture by attracting so many new fans and so many student fans who are much more engaged. Drink has been basically your dream hire for Mizzou. And listen, I liked the hire at the time. I actually did something on my 101 ESPN show, and I said, I don't understand why they don't hire this guy Drinkwitz, because he's got a creative offensive mind, and he's got a great background in who he's worked with, and he did great at Appalachian State in his 1 year. So go hire him. Guy likes to run his mouth. He can get people fired up. Listen, I also wavered on him too, full disclosure. There was a time where I'm kind of like, man, I don't know. I know he's got that used car salesman gift of gab, but is that going to be enough? So my initial instincts were right. I thought he'd be a good hire. Then I had some doubt, and now I'm like, I'm glad I was wrong about that, because he has been a sensational hire. But we know how it goes. If Mizzou gets hit in the mouth and falls down hard to Alabama at home, then some unpleasant memories will return. I'm not saying Mizzou fans are going to turn on Drink. I'm not saying that at all. But that's the way it is in terms of the way Mizzou is viewed on the outside. It may not be fair, but it's inevitable because this is not a blue blood SEC program. It just isn't. It will be one day, but boy, it probably takes a long period of time, decades. When you win, you got to win and be really good for decades. 20 years, 25 maybe. I don't know, before you're sort of viewed as, okay, they belong. I think people in the SEC really do like Mizzou, and they know Drink is good for business. And he's raising a program that's been pretty mediocre, and he's really raised it up to this level. And that's only great. Not good for the SEC. That's great for the SEC. But a loss wouldn't change my perception of Mizzou, a loss to Alabama, because it's hardly an embarrassment to lose to Alabama, especially when they seem to have got their act together. Now, over the final 7 games, and we'll talk about this, if they blow a couple of other games or they basically lose enough to where they're not a factor in the college football playoff discussion, it wouldn't change my perception of Mizzou, but it would be very disappointing. But that's what happens when your team becomes great. The losses are magnified and your standards are raised. So it's just not the same. In the past, it'd be like, 7-5 is not bad. 8-4 is pretty good. Now it's to the point they're winning so much. It's like, you don't hate the team if they do, worse than we expect, but the disappointment level to those kinds of losses, it absolutely increases. But that's a sign of how much progress you've made at Mizzou. But a Mizzou lost Saturday would raise some questions, in large part because it's the beginning of a remaining schedule of the final 7 regular season games that's ranked as the 11th most difficult at the FBS level. From here on out, the Tigers don't have any real soft spots with a schedule that reads this way: Alabama at home, at Auburn, at Vandy, Texas A&M at home, Mississippi State at home, and then road games at Oklahoma and Arkansas. Mississippi State cannot be overlooked. They're certainly a fighting team and a respectable team. And I think interim coach Bobby Petrino, who's desperate to get that full-time job at Arkansas, he's going to have the Razorbacks playing well by the time Mizzou arrives in Fayetteville. I really believe that. Of the 7 opponents as we sit here today, Alabama, Vandy, Texas A&M, and Oklahoma are currently ranked in both top 25 polls, and 2 other teams, Auburn and Mississippi State, received the votes in this week's polling. So the only one that's not even mentioned in any of the polling is Arkansas. But again, I think it's going to change under Bobby Petrino. I could be wrong, but he's pretty good, and he's got a special feel for that place. Anyway, if we go by Bill Connolly's SP Plus metrics, the lowest ranked remaining Mizzou opponent is Mississippi State at number 43 nationally, and 5 Mizzou opponents the rest of the way in the regular season are rated among the top 26 nationally this week at SP Plus. When I return, so Mizzou's going to have a lot to prove, and they're going to have to find a way to win their lion's share of these games. It's going to be a challenge, but that means they really matter, right? If your team didn't matter, you wouldn't think about it as like, hey, they're really good, but this is going to be a challenge. This will be a challenge. Yeah, you welcome those challenges because it means that you are relevant. You're in the national picture, and people are talking about you from, if they're college football fans, everywhere. In fact, I was reading The Athletic, and they update their college football projections, college football playoff projections every Sunday morning. And Mizzou's not in the 12-team field, but The Athletic and their forecast system had Mizzou as one of the first 5 out. So they're in the picture. No need to really get into it any deeper than that, because again, there's a bunch of games here that, Mizzou will be favored to win most of them, but these games, it's going to be a really tough slate because the first 5 games were relatively easy, although certainly good wins over Kansas and South Carolina, but also a lot of soft spots. So Mizzou's going to be tested more. So we can update what their, playoff chances are as we go from game to game, right? And after we see what happens in those games one by one. All right, I'm going to get into next why I believe Mizzou's got a really strong chance of beating Alabama, and I base it on the facts because that's what I do, and I studied metrics, and that's what I do, and I know it's a turnoff to some of you. That's okay. I don't mind doing the homework because I like to have a foundational knowledge of what I'm saying or what I'm thinking is true. It's backed by stats and facts and metrics. So I'll go through some of this, but I want to mention, though, I'm going to save my official pick for later in the week, but I'm going to kind of outline things next. And before I do that, however, I want to give the gentleman out there a little pep talk about BlueChew. And then I want to give them the opportunity to get a first month of BlueChew free, except for a $5 shipping fee. That's the only thing that'll go with it. A month free, except for a $5 shipping fee that you'll take care of. Gents, BlueChew can help raise your game for those intimate and pleasurable and very special moments with your partner. There's no need to hesitate, no need to be shy about this. Just get it, just chew it, and then just do it. I know what BlueChew has done for me, and I'm of Social Security age, and I want you to discover what BlueChew can do for you. That's why I'm proud to represent BlueChew. If you need a stronger bat, BlueChew's in the equipment room, so go get it off the rack and then get it done in the bedroom or any other room. And who says it's got to be inside your house? All right, I'll behave. I'll stop now. BlueChew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for enhanced performance. You will get your first month of BlueChew free. You're just a few clicks away. You sign up at BlueChew.com. You consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription at your doorstep in a few days. It really is that simple. It's done online. It's private. There's no awkwardness. Try your first month of BlueChew free when you use that promo code Bernie. Just pay the $5 shipping. Once again, that's promo code Bernie, BERNIE, to get your first month free. And the only cost to you is the $5 shipping fee. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank BlueChew for sponsoring the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central. All right, welcome back. Third and final segment of today's Bernie Show. Does Mizzou have a shot at winning straight up when Alabama invades Columbia? I absolutely believe they do, and I'm not being a homer. There will be some things I will talk to you later in the week about that do really concern me, but I'm going to save that for another time. I'm going to outline this and tell you where Mizzou's got the advantages and where Alabama's got the advantages. First of all, the timing of this game should help Mizzou. And I know a lot of you know this already, but I'm just reiterating it. Mizzou had a glorified scrimmage against UMass 2 weeks ago, and then they were off this past weekend. So the Tigers haven't had much to worry about since holding off South Carolina at home back on September the 20th. Now, so that means Drinkwitz, the coaches, and the players have basically had not only, well, they did have to play the scrimmage against UMass, but they basically have had downtime to heal up some minor injuries or maybe even sort of major injuries. They had time to get fresher. They had time to kind of reinvigorate after getting banged around a little bit. So they've had 3 weeks. They've also had 3 weeks because they weren't wasting a lot of time on the UMass game plan, okay? So basically the Tigers had 3 weeks after beating South Carolina, the Tigers had 3 weeks to study for Alabama and get fully prepared for Alabama. And that should lead to an advantage for the Tigers. After losing their opener to Florida State, Alabama was down, and then they were in the survival mode. It's hard to believe it now because they beat Wisconsin so handily on the road. But the pressure was really on Alabama going into that Wisconsin game. A lot of the pundits, a lot of wagering people thought take Wisconsin in the points. We don't trust Alabama. So the pressure was really on Alabama going into that game, and they pancaked Wisconsin, which is not a good team, but that's beside the point. This was more about Alabama. The pressure was really on when the Crimson Tide went back into Georgia, and the pressure was on again when Vanderbilt came into Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. Vanderbilt having beaten Alabama in 2024 down in Nashville. So Alabama passed all three tests, but the back-to-back games against Georgia and Vandy were tough and physically punishing. Like, they knew they were in a Donnybrook. Nothing was easy about it. So now they have got to turn around Alabama and come to Mizzou after two back-to-back, let's throw rocks, let's punch each other out, may the best men win type games, right? And I think Alabama's got to go to LSU soon after that. I should have looked that up, and I apologize. So they're in a gauntlet of a schedule, the Crimson Tide. And then, as I mentioned earlier, despite the nice win at Georgia the other 2 weeks ago, Alabama's erratic play as a road team under DeBoer is certainly a factor going into this one. Based on the entire body of work so far this season, Pro Football Focus gives higher grades to Missouri over Alabama in overall offense, rushing offense, receivers, run blocking, overall defense, rushing defense, pass rush, tackling, and special teams. Alabama has the better Pro Football Focus grades than Mizzou in passing offense, pass blocking, and pass coverage. Bama's grade advantage gap over Mizzou is very wide in pass protection and pass coverage. Mizzou in pass protection, and so far pretty poor in pass coverage. Way too many blown coverage mistakes. And you all know that. I'm just kind of reinforcing what we already know based on the grading used by Pro Football Focus. I have some other grades that I'll use later in the week because I actually think the Sports Info Solution, they have a phenomenal set of rankings in just about everything. And I have a subscription to that, and I have access to just some really great info. So I'm going to share some of that later this week, maybe on Friday, but I might even try to do it Thursday just to give everybody extra time to read it. Mizzou's biggest grade advantage over Alabama can be seen in rushing offense and the defensive pass rush. Now, I didn't address any individual players in this video, but later in the week, as I mentioned, I'll be back with another Bernie show on Mizzou quarterback Beau Pribula, running back Ahmad Hardy, the Mizzou pass rush, Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson, who could be the key player in this game Saturday. Plus, as mentioned, I will have a game prediction on Saturday's winner. For now, that'll be it on Mizzou, Alabama. Like I said, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm going to peak too soon. I think a night game would be more fun, but I'll take the 11 a.m. kickoff as well. Who knows? Maybe even a Bloody Mary before that. I'm allowed. It's a free country, I think, and I'm in the privacy of my own home. And if I'm wearing a damn Mizzou hat for that game, watching that game, yeah, I'll have a Bloody Mary. You can all come over for one. No, probably it's not a good idea. Listen, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Thanks to DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show. Please subscribe, hit that like button, leave your comments, support our sponsors, and I'll be back tomorrow with another Bernie Show video on another topic here at STL Sports Central. Thank you very much. Hello there, I'm Bernie Miklasz, and I want to take a minute to brag about everything that we're doing here on STL Sports Central. But first, if you don't mind, I'm going to tell you a quick story because I think you need to hear it. When this site began a few months ago, whenever it was, right, I was curious to see what I would find here. I love sports content, but I can be a little picky. I want it to be consistent. I want it to be smart. I want it to be fun. I want it to be something I can count on. Not every now and then, but every day if possible. Well, listen, I got all of that and then some. I was simply blown away by the huge amount of content, good content, quality content, a variety of content on this site. Hey, there's Cardinals coverage with Card Central 365. Which is there for you every single day. 365 days a year. You're going to stay up to date with a great cast of hosts, my friends that include Brendan Schaefer, Mike Claiborne, Joe Roderick, Stephen Carey, Ryan Fagan, and many more. And that's not all. There's post-game shows after every game. In fact, this is about the Cardinals coverage, but there's post-game shows after every game, any St. Louis sports team, college or pro. It's amazing. And these post-game shows feature the hosts that I've already mentioned, plus in terms of the Cardinals post-games, plus Sarah Daly and Ethan Hannaford. And I'm in the bullpen in case they want to bring the old reliever out so I can holler about something. Hey, long story short, and I wasn't very short, but here's the story. I was so impressed with STL Sports Central, I knew something right away. I wanted to be part of the team, and so I am. Here I am. Please join us all. There's nothing like this in the St. Louis sports market. There is nothing like it in this market. There never has been, and we are breaking that ground. We are changing the way St. Louis sports fans consume their sports content. I'm proud to be on the squad. Thank you, and join us.